and just make it real and raw. And then the more real and raw I got, the better I became, because I was unleashing, you know, just putting those like negative thoughts or putting those thoughts that weren't necessarily me at my very best. I was putting them on paper and actualizing them and just expressing like, this is where I'm struggling. This is how I feel. It makes you realize that everything is changeable, that nothing is permanent. So if you're actually speaking about these things, you can do something about it. Versus if you never realize these things, or if you just stifle them down, you know, to the point where it's just training is your only form of therapy and release, it doesn't really work out a lot of times as best for you. But if you're talking to yourself and you're being real, then you know how to work from there. So I figured it out early-ish on, but, you know, I can still do better with it. I can still do better with it because we always want to be the knight in shining armor. We always want to look put together and collected, like we've got it all together. But it's okay not to.
We all, you know, it never stops, right? Yeah. So everybody wants to be real to the world, but they can't be real to themselves.
Yeah.
So you can't be real to the world until you're real with yourself first, 100%. Right? So if you can't even write down your own thoughts, you know, pro and con, then you can't be real with yourself, you know, and that's important, you know, especially when there's so much shit going on and we're all broke.
Yeah.
You know, that's always... You can't break what's already broken, right? So it's like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm already broke. What are you going to do?
And then it also, like, when you're real with yourself, it makes you more relatable to other people. Because I think we all feel this way, that we have to be this perfect person or we have to be presentable in whatever ways. But we all feel broken, no matter, you know, some of us a little more than others. That's the power lifters, right? Like, that's how we express. But I think people relate when you're honest and you're like real about your struggles and real about, you know, say the PEDs or say these different things. When you're real and open about that kind of stuff, you're more relatable and it makes more of an impact. And so that's what I've always wanted to do from the very beginning, was to make a bigger impact and to make anybody realize that I'm nobody special. I'm nothing special. I just really decided that I was going to do this thing and I did it. Right? Ups, downs, sideways, however, you know, it was not a linear kind of situation. I wanted to be done way before I was, but the thing is, it doesn't work that way. And so when you're real like that, I faced a lot of, like, I did the 2018 US Open and I crapped the bed. I did another meet, in November of that same year in North Carolina, and I did well, but the third attempt deadlift was what I needed to secure the highest all-time Wilks, and I missed. And I wasn't the kind of person, oh, Stacy, what happened? Oh, well, I didn't have my foot 1 degree to the left and the sun was in my eyes and the mat was on the floor and it rolled up. I'm not going to give you an excuse. You know what I said? I wasn't strong enough yet. Meaning I wasn't there yet, but I'm going to do everything in my power to get it next time. So many people have so many excuses for everything in the world, right? And that's just fake news. That's all that is. Yeah. Is, you know, you weren't strong enough. No matter if, you know, it was just on the day or whatever else, I never put an excuse out there because it was just, it is what it is. And you just move forward with it. Right. So that's just always how I've been, and just trying to move forward with everything. The realness, I'm going to define what you said a little bit better. With the being real, I don't look at that as making a bigger impact. Being real, because to me, a bigger impact is wide, right? So people can make a big impact by having 3.5 million followers on Instagram, but it's not deep. Yeah. Right. The fakest people in the world have the biggest impact, right? The realest people in the world have the deepest impact. Absolutely. Right. So that surface impact isn't going to change anybody. Yeah. It's going to entertain them. That deeper impact will change people's lives. Yeah. You know, it will forever. You know, it can be a pivot point, you know, that cascades, you know, into that person's life, which could change their children's life, you know, and it can be generational. Yeah. And that's truly, I love the way that you phrase that, you know, just a deeper impact. And that's what I want to do totally and completely, because had I continued to train with the absolute disregard for anything else other than, you know, just moving weight, I probably would have 1 million followers on Instagram, because people love to watch an absolute maniac, you know, I mean, and training wise, I mean, I've never seen someone train to the intensity, a female at least, like, you know, maybe very few and far in between, because I cared about it more than anything in the world, like more than absolutely anything. And so had I continued to train that way, people love to watch. Yeah. Like, what do you mean that's what you want to do? You're already doing it. Oh, well, I mean, if I had continued to train in that way, I'd have 1 million followers, right? But I decided to optimize the approach, right? And so it kept me reeled in. So people don't like to watch just kind of squats that aren't RP 12.5, where I'm not bleeding from the head, where I don't have to bash myself. And, like people don't, it's not as entertaining. But I decided to make a choice to make a deeper impact rather than to just get, all the just low hanging fruit, right? So I decided to just be bigger more than anything. But I like that deep. I want to change lives, right? And like, it sounds so cliche, by moving weight, I'm changing lives, but it's just, I want to show people that anything can be done, that absolutely anything can be done. And it's just all about your approach.
Well, you have shown people that, you know, so, I mean, have you stopped to think about that?
Not usually, because even still, there's still always more work to be done, right? And so that's what the podcast is for. And the podcast is for...
It's like your squat, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm working on. That's one of the things that I'm working on, is just being more present, appreciating the little wins, because those are things that, reflecting, I should have done a little differently, right? But I'm happy with, how
would you have, though?
How would I have? Just to stop and be like, wow, that's actually great work. You're doing a great job, Stacy. Like, look at how far you've come, instead of just looking at the shortcoming, looking at this is not enough versus comparing it to where I began, and just, so I definitely had the mentality always that I just had to do more. But then now I'm like, if you just look at it a little bit differently, it might have changed I might have been even better, just if I'd appreciated the little wins along the way. Because that's something that I try to teach all my athletes and anybody that I interact with, is that, because I had a lot of bad days in the gym, just because my expectation was here. And even if my output was good, it wasn't good enough. I threw several chalk bowls. I mean, I did a lot of things, right?
Tell me about one of the worst days that you can remember.
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you. One's got to pop up immediately.
Number one, it was my last heavy deadlift before the Arnold. So I was living with Trevor. Every aspect of my life was being controlled and lining up. I didn't cheat on my diet. I didn't do anything out of deviation. So to me, I'm doing every single thing that I can, checking the boxes. We go to do my last heavy pull, and it was supposed to be 500. And I'd pulled 500 multiple times. It was kind of not a routine thing. I had to actually, I had to work for it, but it was something that wasn't crazy to me. It wasn't asinine. So we go into the gym, and I'm going to pull my top heavy pull. It doesn't budge. And when I'm talking about it doesn't budge, like, it's not even like okay. No. It doesn't break the floor. And I'm with Trevor, and Trevor, he doesn't know quite at this moment in time how to deal with me. And when I say deal with me, just like, I'm going to need a minute, right? Like, I'm going to need a minute. Like, I don't need, it's going to be okay. You're going to be able to, no. I need a minute, or maybe 7. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. It was just one of those things. I took my belt, and I would love to say that I delicately placed it. I did not. I chunked it. I walked out, because I trained in Trevor's garage, right? So I walked out the garage in the middle of this nice neighborhood, just super suburban. I walked out, and I'm just power walking, and I'm just angry. I walked out, and I'm just going. I hated everything. I was mad at everything. Everything was everybody else's fault too. This was Trevor's fault.
Yeah.
Somehow, because I've been doing everything right. So this was Trevor's fault that I missed this deadlift. I can do this. This is stupid. This is the program. It's the plan. This ain't me. And I just was mad, and I was walking, stomping around this neighborhood, and all these little women looking out the window like, what is going on? Because I'm shirtless. I come back. I walk back in. I grab my belt. And as I'm putting my belt on, because I was about to do it again, Trevor's like, we should try it again, in his little fragile, kind of way. And I was already in the midst of doing it without his permission or not. And I'm talking about, I gripped and ripped it, because Trevor's a very technical guy, and he's a good coach. He was a good coach for me, especially because all I knew was just move it, grip and rip. I never had the best technique. That's why a lot of times people are like, oh, Stacy coaches? I ain't never seen her do a good deadlift before. And I'm like, well, I learned, right? I learned more after I got done training, like, to figure out how I could coach and better apply. But so I went through, and I'm talking about, I gripped and ripped it. It was the ugliest thing that's probably ever been done. It never even made it to Instagram, because it was so hideous, and I was so mad at it, right? It was RP 12.5. I put it down, and Trevor was like, okay, well, that's done. Like, that was pretty much it. And he told me, I lost my lats on the first one or whatever else. But the truth of the matter was, I was scared. And I don't like saying that, because I'm not scared of anything. I'm the fearless leader, right? But I was just scared because I had been doing so much. I've been working so hard. My back had been bothering me a little bit, just the aches and pains and stuff. And I just kind of, I remember when I approached the bar, I was like, all right, I hope this goes okay. Like if you walk up to a 500-pound bar, 1,000-pound, whatever, any kind of, whatever it is, and you're scared or you have a little bit of doubt, it's going to eat you. It's going to eat you for lunch. It took my lunch money. And so that's a real thing, that any kind of those little thoughts that you have, I needed all of it to be on board with me. I needed to be 100% all in mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. And when I was unbeatable. And like that to me really showed me that like I can do anything, but I can't doubt myself. And so I remember having that terrible training day. I didn't speak to Trevor, even though I figured it out and I got it. I didn't speak to Trevor for the rest of the day. I didn't speak, I don't think, the entire rest of the day. I was so disappointed. And I was like, okay, I just got to pull probably like 50 more pounds in this. No big deal in 2 weeks. So, that sounds like a tall order, right? Like I've got to lose 20 pounds and I've got to pull 50 more pounds. Done.
What did you do within those 2 weeks to be able to change the mindset going into the meet?
I wrote and I visualized. I turned the dial up even harder on like the realizations. And the mantra that I always had was can, am, will. And so can means you're capable. Am, I'm going to do it. And will is what you're going to do moving forward. So I just told myself I'm the best in the world. I wrote every single day. This is something that not a ton of people know. But even just before training or in the morning, I wrote like I was in school and you get in trouble and you write it over and over again. I would write 100 times. I've still got sheets of paper. I am the best in the world.